This is undoubtedly the angriest Kong has ever been in the newly released second season of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Ignorant humans have finally caught a disaster, unleashing Titan X, a monster far more powerful than Kong or Godzilla. As Titan X dives into the sea, Kong thrashes the water in fury, roaring at the humans. Congrats on catching this video right as your battery hits 7. On the premiere of Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, the story begins with a mission to rescue companions trapped in another realm. A team of 4 speeds across the water in a boat, heading toward the massive storm cell surrounding Skull Island. Hiroshi's analysis shows the island's unrest is driving the storm inward much faster than expected. They have less than a 6-hour window. As they tread carefully through the jungle, a sudden noise forces them into hiding. Tracing the sound, they spot a psychovulture being hunted. Scavenger mauls the creature to death. Before the group can react, it circles back and lands right beside them. The group is terrified, but luckily they aren't its intended prey. After devouring a grub, it takes flight and leaves. Still shaken, the 4 continue their journey, but they soon discover something even more terrifying. We gotta go back, it's the only way. Right before them lies a sleeping Kong. The 4 creep forward cautiously from the side, terrified that the slightest noise might wake him, but Kate is so transfixed by Kong that she misses her footing. The snap of a branch doesn't wake Kong, but it does cause him to roll over. Kate narrowly escapes being crushed by his fingers as they press on, finally reaching their destination. This is a ruined Apex base. Previously, it was here that Hiroshi rescued his daughter Kate. This device, capable of opening a space-time rift, is the key to rescuing their companion Lee Shaw. However, the device has lost power due to Kong's previous rampage. So Kentaro decides to go and start the backup generator. Hiroshi and Kate stay behind to continue repairing the equipment. Kentaro quickly locates the backup generator, but the roar of the generator starting up draws the attention of nearby monsters. The creatures track the human scent, closing the distance rapidly. Hiding behind a cabinet, Kentaro devises a plan. He throws his flashlight aside to create a distraction. The pair attempt to escape from the other side, but the monster manages to catch up, narrowly making it out. The 2 manage to kill the monster in a thrilling struggle. Meanwhile, Lee Shaw, surviving alone in the jungle, encounters a boar-like titan bristling with tusks and ready to charge. As Shaw reaches for his side, he is armed with nothing but a dagger. Back at the base, Kentaro and the others return to the ruins to regroup, but Hiroshi hesitates to press the start button. Just then, 2 helicopters arrive to intercept the group. Hiroshi explains that when they previously rescued Kate, they had spent over a year testing under ideal conditions, but clearly current conditions are far from ideal. But Kate refuses to give up as Shaw had saved her life. She cannot leave him behind stranded in another world. Meanwhile, the helicopters have landed, and the newcomers urge the 4 of them to evacuate immediately.
The storm wall is closing in. We don't have this in 10 minutes. We're never gonna help. We just need a few minutes.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
You tried, Kate.
But if you open that rift again, you don't know what you're going to unleash. Recalling how Shaw once risked everything to save her, Kate resolutely turned back and flipped the switch. The fluctuation immediately caught Kong's attention. A massive pillar of energy surged skyward as the space-time rift was forced open. The craft was pulled into the rift. Meanwhile, the monster before Shaw scrambled away. Sensing something was wrong, Shaw rushed to investigate. Just as he feared, the monster had already awakened. Shaw tried to shut the hatch, but a scarab jammed it. Once the creature was cleared, he quickly started the aircraft. Dangerous as it was, this was his only chance to return to the real world. Failing the monster, he charged into the rift's energy beam. Back in the real world, the team prepared to evacuate. The monster was now on the verge of emerging from the rift. Its massive silhouette took form within the pillar of light. Moments later, Shaw's craft broke through back into reality, but as he opened the hatch, an enraged Kong approached from behind. Everyone feared the furious Kong would attack them, but after assessing the situation, Kong smashed the energy transmitter with one punch and the rift was closed, but the damage was already done. Seizing the opportunity, everyone scrambled toward the helicopter to escape. As if sensing a dark secret, Shaw spoke up. "Probably should have left me there," he said as they took flight. Kong glared at the humans from ahead and quickly gave chase. As Titan X dived deep into the ocean, there was nothing more Kong could do to stop it. He slammed the water in rage and turned to roar at the helicopter. This time they had truly sparked a catastrophe. Humanity clearly hadn't realized what releasing an ancient Sea Lord back into the ocean would actually entail. Titan X from Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 has finally emerged. Much like Godzilla and Kong, it is a massive 100-meter class ancient titan. When enraged, its entire body glows with a crimson warning sign. More terrifying still, as the Lord of the Ancient Seas, Titan X commands a species of small ancient creatures known as scarabs. These parasites cling to Titan X's massive frame, and as Titan X carves a path of destruction across the globe, thousands of these scarabs will pose a dire threat to humanity. Team returned to the Monarch vessel by helicopter, unaware that Yunxi, a scarab had already hitched a ride on the chopper. Meanwhile, inside the ship, Monarch has successfully tracked Titan X's movements. It is currently moving at 35 knots toward the South China Sea. As the acting commander on board, Tim attempts to contact Director Barris, only to be told that communications are completely down. A massive electromagnetic field from the storm cell surrounding the island has knocked all satellite links offline. Restoring the signal will take time, or they may even need to sail out of the interference zone entirely. This means they are effectively stranded in an information vacuum. Tim realizes that no one else knows about the Titan's status, yet everyone is looking to him for orders. In his moment of hesitation, Colonel Shaw appears. Shaw insisted the ship pursue the Titan, immediately paying no heed to Tim. He pressured Monarch to take immediate action. Tim tried to stall, claiming they had to wait for orders from Washington. Shaw wasn't buying it. He warned that if the Titan were allowed to make landfall in a densely populated area, it would be an absolute catastrophe. Tim shot back, emphasizing that this vessel was not a warship. He also blamed Kate and the others, arguing that their rescue of Shaw is exactly what led to this crisis. Finally, after a few minutes of tense standoff, Tim caved. He ordered the Titan to be tracked, but insisted that once they cleared the island's interference, they must sound the alarm and maintain a safe distance from Titan X. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Kentaro and Hiroshi were reeling from the fact that they had unleashed a Titan and were consumed by guilt.
We unleashed a Titan, we didn't know that would happen. Doesn't matter, you weren't the one who pushed the button, we should never have pushed that button. Hearing this, Kate turns and walks away.
Kate felt they were blaming her for being the one who actually pushed the button to release the beast, but she hadn't gone far before she noticed blood splattered across the corridor. Following the trail, she came face to face with the scarab. It had already made quick work of one of the crew members. Kate immediately alerted the others over the comms, while grabbing a fire extinguisher to confront the scarab. "Try me, you little bastard." But as the scarab closed in, the safety pin on the fire extinguisher jammed. Luckily, Kentaro appeared just in time, wounding the scarab and saving Kate. Saying this, Kate rushes forward with a fire extinguisher, frantically striking the scarab. "Okay, move, get out." Little did she know, the entire ship was about to be plunged into a crisis of total destruction. A surge of energy and light waves rippled across the sea, signaling Titan X, and at the same time the crew in the control room realized that Titan X, which was heading for a populated area, had suddenly changed course. To their horror, they saw the Titan was now accelerating directly toward their ship. "I think we might have pissed it off." Upon seeing the scarab Kate had just fought, Kaiko and Shaw immediately understood that the Titan was coming for the scarab. Their conversation reveals that Keiko had encountered the scarab and Titan X long ago. Shaw acted instantly, deciding to give the Titan exactly what it wanted. He led the team toward the cabin where the small creature was being held. Fortunately, the resilient scarab was still alive. Shaw planned to use the creature as bait to lure the Titan away from the ship. Shaw loaded the small Titan onto a speedboat and sped out into the open sea alone. The others watched the Titan's movements from the deck in terror. Titan X surged forward, the gap between them closing rapidly. Seeing this, Shaw immediately moved to the back of the boat, unbinding the scarab and casting it into the sea. Whoa! But Titan X was already upon him, the massive wake from its body, threatening to swallow Shaw whole. On the deck, Kaiko turned away, unable to watch the waves. At the final second, Shaw punched through the swell, escaping certain death. By putting himself on the line, Shaw had saved everyone on board. The scarab dove into the depths, joining thousands of its kind, clinging to Titan X's massive frame. With its objective secured, Titan X turned and submerged into the deep. It paid no mind to these tiny humans. Watching the receding Titan X, Kaiko couldn't help but recall that night decades ago. In 1957, Kaiko and her companions arrived at an island for an investigation, arriving just as a local fishing village's festival was underway. The villagers explained their belief in the need to appease a great sea god to ensure a bountiful catch. Amidst the festive air, there was a sense of ancient mystery. As the villagers' revelry reached its peak, they carried offerings in an ancient rite. A man sliced open a fish with a knife and knelt down, painting an eerie symbol on a woman's forehead with blood-stained hands. Suddenly, the crowd quickly dispersed. After urging the two to leave immediately, the woman also hurried away. Immediately after, they felt tremors rising from beneath the earth. Looking back, they saw countless insects swarming in their direction, or rather, toward the sea. Keiko and Shaw scrambled to escape, trying to find cover inside a house, but every door was bolted shut. Then they witnessed a massive sea monster rising from the waves. It was Titan X. Glowing red, it was in a fit of rage. The scarabs pulsed with the same hue, all converging toward Titan X. They seemed to have no interest in the pair, until Shaw kicked a passing scarab. Titan X from the Monarch legacy finally revealed its overwhelming power. Even Godzilla would struggle. The world is truly in peril now. The only saving grace is that this first clash broke out in Japan. Keen-eyed viewers might have noticed that Titan X currently shows no signs of aggression. It is clearly biding its time, or perhaps it's guarding a deeper secret, and only when its scarab minions come under attack does it step up to retaliate. One must admit Titan X is an incredibly protective host. There are hundreds of thousands of scarabs at the very least, but if even one is harmed and sends out a signal, Titan X will fly into a rage, waiting until the very last one returns, and attaches itself back onto its body. Only then does its red glow fade back to normal, and the colors of the scarabs change in unison. It's evident that the scarabs are vital to Titan X, suggesting a deeply symbiotic relationship. The island where Keiko first encountered Titan X is almost certainly its permanent spawning ground. Having gathered all the scarabs, Titan X gave the two humans a cold glance before turning to depart in silence. Keiko, however, used her camera to capture this historic moment, but she was caught red-handed by emerging islanders. They demanded Keiko hand over her camera, for they revere Titan X as a deity, and feared if photos leaked, outsiders would come to defile their sacred land. By spawning here, Titan X provides the islanders with an abundance of marine life. If it were to never return, everyone's livelihood would be at stake. Therefore, their secret had to be protected at all costs. Just then, the agitated islanders attacked. Shaw, relying on his military training, fought back and took a hostage, giving the two of them a chance to flee. With the islanders in pursuit, Shaw cleverly salvaged the film for hurling the camera in the opposite direction as a decoy. The two then hid in the shadows, narrowly evading capture, but once safe, a heated argument erupted between them.
I followed you into every situation against my better judgment, but you walked right into danger every goddamn time. So you're saying I'm reckless? Yes, Keiko, we almost died out there. Do you understand that? Yes, we almost died, but this was always a possibility.
You can't handle it. You can leave. I can't leave you. In the end, their feelings overcame reason, and Keiko leaned in for a kiss. Something happened between them that shouldn't have happened. Shaw ignored the fact that Keiko already had a partner, and that partner was none other than his own comrade Billy. Returning to the present, Titan X has vanished without a trace, and while Monarch's ship with its engines damaged is forced to dock at Tokyo port for repairs. Kate, the one who started it all, finally realizes she has made a grave mistake. She decides to leave, seemingly trying to run away from it all. In truth, Kate has long been haunted by a past trauma. The reason she was so desperate to save Shaw was because when she first encountered Godzilla years ago, the beast, enraged by a military strike, was wreaking havoc on the Golden Gate Bridge. Coming face to face with such terror left Kate traumatized. But more importantly, on that day, she lost a whole bus of students, a tragedy that has weighed on her ever since. Meanwhile, those on the ship are struggling with having lost track of Titan X. The last time this happened was 3 years ago, when they lost track of Godzilla, which resulted in catastrophic casualties. With a giant monster now roaming free, Monarch is attempting to keep it a secret to prevent widespread panic. While everyone was brainstorming ways to cover up the Titan's existence, Keiko suggested that they shouldn't just wait around for disaster to strike, but instead lure the creature away from densely populated areas, while devising a counter-strategy. Since the scarab's sonic frequency previously attracted Titan XI, if they can replicate that signal, their plan might actually work. However, the only transmitter capable of replicating the sound was destroyed on Skull Island. That is when Hiroshi revealed that back in his Shibuya lab in Tokyo, there is another prototype that once modified should achieve the desired result. But as their discussion intensified, the command center was abruptly seized by an outside group. Their leader Jason identifies himself as a representative of Apex Cybernetics, specifically their head of special projects. Because they lost track of the Titan, Jason's team has been granted temporary command over Outpost 18. Tim, the ship's current commanding officer, immediately insisted on contacting Director Barris. To his shock, Apex intervention was authorized by the director himself. During a video call, the director explained that while Tim's orders were to shadow the Titan, he had abandoned the mission to save a merchant ship, leaving the Titan's current location unknown. Tim stood by his decision, emphasizing that Colonel Shaw's and Dr. Kaiko's expertise is vital, and that it would be foolish to ignore them. However, Barris remained unmoved, stating that Apex Cybernetics provides the advanced technology needed to locate the Titan before the public finds out. He demands Tim's full cooperation with Apex and the immediate handover of Shaw and Kaiko. Once the call ended, Tim explained the situation to Shaw and the group. Apex is a massive tech conglomerate with deep pockets, operating at the cutting edge of biomedicine and neural implant technology. Monarch began outsourcing its equipment to these tech giants, and the previous operation on Skull Island was only successful in rescuing them thanks to Apex's funding. But the group remains skeptical of Apex's motives, believing that the company is far from humanitarian. As long as there's profit in Titans, they will dive in headfirst to cover up the truth and prevent widespread panic. Monarch has no choice but to collaborate with Apex. Tim ultimately chooses to trust Shaw, and the others deciding to let them go on his own. As they part ways, Tim warns the group to be careful, for once they escape, Monarch will use all its resources to hunt them down. Despite the rough road ahead, the plan to lure the Titan with sound is currently their only hope. The group arrives in Shibuya, Tokyo at night, heading for Hiroshi's studio. Monarch's reaction is incredibly swift. Already, the giant electronic billboards on the streets are displaying wanted posters for Shaw and Kaiko. Nevertheless, they make it to the studio safely and find the massive prototype. Hiroshi explains that this machine is built from the original design of Dr. Suzuki's Titan Phono, and while it's smaller, it is far more powerful. Back then, Dr. Suzuki used it to accidentally awaken Godzilla. Now, they need to modify the device so it can emit the Titan's sonic signals they previously captured. This is a massive undertaking that will take considerable time. With Monarch in hot pursuit and the Titan still at large, time is running out. To move the plan forward, they decide to split up. Hiroshi goes to gather the necessary parts, while Kaiko and Shaw head to the office to retrieve the original schematics. Meanwhile, a suspended Tim is left feeling dejected. At a small noodle shop, he tries to drown his sorrows. There, he meets up with his old friend May. He remarks self-deprecatingly that he dedicated his life to Monarch, only to realize he may have backed the wrong horse. Tim voices his concerns, believing that Apex Cybernetics taking over Monarch's assets is part of a much deeper conspiracy. Suspecting they've only seen the tip of the iceberg and determined to find the truth, he makes a request. He asks May to use her skills to secure a position at Apex and act as his mole within the company. Tim fears that if Apex is indeed plotting something, it could trigger another disaster on the scale of G-Day. Meanwhile, Kate returns to her home in San Francisco, walking the familiar streets alone. The feeling of being home is both comforting and strangely foreign. Her mother and stepfather are overjoyed to see her and embrace her tightly. Her family is curious about where she's been all this time, but Kate simply says that it all feels surreal. Her family comforts her, telling her that no matter what she went through, it's all over now, and she's safe. In Tokyo, Kaiko and Shaw slip into Hiroshi's office to find the schematics. While searching, Kaiko comes across a photo of Kate and Kentaro. She is shocked to discover that both are the children of her son, Hiroshi. They are half-siblings. She asks Shaw for the truth about Hiroshi's past, but Shaw insists that it's not his place to tell her. This makes Kaiko realize that everyone is harboring their own secrets. Meanwhile, on the streets of Tokyo, Hiroshi and Kentaro secure the parts they need. For safety, they decide to head back to the workshop separately. On the way back, Kaiko brought up his father to Hiroshi, saying that his office looked very much like his father's, which stirred up Hiroshi's memories of the past. Kaiko admitted that in Hiroshi's office she saw photos of his two families and asked if he had been married twice.
I know, I left you a long time ago, but I'm here now. I want to know you. I wasn't married twice. I loved 2 women. He admitted that he had followed his heart's desires, believing that someone like Keiko might not be able to understand.
These words cast a heavy atmosphere over the two. Meanwhile, on the other side, the returning to Apex may quietly logged into the company's internal system. Yunxi made a startling discovery. Apex surveillance system had been tracking Hiroshi Kentaro, Shaw, and Kaiko's group. She saw real-time surveillance footage of them at the Shibuya crossing. What shocked her even more was discovering that Apex personnel were tracking and preparing to seize the Sonic prototype. She immediately alerted Tim, but it was too late. When Hiroshi and the others returned to the studio, they found the prototype had vanished. They couldn't understand why Apex would take it. Did they really want the entire world to know about the Titan's existence? Just then, a security alert flashed across the TV in the bar, warning citizens of a Titan, citing a new Titan had emerged in the Pacific Ocean and was deemed extremely dangerous. The world order faced another severe test. This news shook Kei, causing her emotional state to collapse instantly. She returned to the Golden Gate Bridge, the very place where she first encountered Godzilla, and recalled the harrowing memories of that day.
I don't want to lose anyone else, but if you open that rift again, you have no idea what you could unleash, sir. You'll never understand. I can't walk. After losing the prototype, Hiroshi fell into despair.
Kaiko tries to comfort him, suggesting they could build another device, as they have the blueprints to complete it together. But Hiroshi argues that it took him 6 years to finish this prototype, and there's no telling how many lives the Titans will claim. While they scavenge for parts, Kaiko suggests returning to Monarch to seek their help.
What are you doing? Ew.
It turns out that when Hiroshi was 11 years old, his father, Billy, abandoned him just as his mother, Keiko, had, and never returned. But knowing her husband Kaiko believes it would be impossible for Billy to abandon his son. Little did anyone know back in 1962, while Billy was cleaning the attic, he accidentally discovered a letter from Shaw. This letter was written after Shaw and Kaiko left the island, a breakup letter from Kaiko to Shaw.
Lee, I do love you. I always have, and I always will. But Billy saw what happened between us can never happen again in another world. This could have been about us. Maybe in the next lifetime we will find each other again. Until then I remain your car. It was this very letter that led to Billy's departure.
He has been missing ever since. While this series hasn't explicitly stated it, we might venture a dramatic guess. Could Hiroshi actually be the son of Keiko and Shaw?